Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, and this week we're hopping across the Naughty Dog Park because I'm looking at the survival horror game The Last of Us, released in 2013. More specifically, the remastered version released on PlayStation 4 in 2014. For those of you who watched my video on Uncharted 3, you'll already know a good bit about this game's development. After the release of Uncharted 2, Naughty Dog split their studio in half, with half continuing to work on Uncharted while the other half worked on this game. Originally conceptualized as Ico meets Sin City, it transformed over time into more Ico meets Resident Evil, with the core focus being on the dynamic between two drastically different characters as they're forced to work together and survive the zombie apocalypse. Much like Uncharted, The Last of Us is one of the best-selling and most well-known video games of all time, with heaps of praise given to nearly every aspect of the game, especially the relationship between the two main characters. Unlike Uncharted, this game abandoned the idea of stylized realism in favor of what I'll call deconstructed reality, taking real locations and putting them 20 years into a zombie apocalypse. Before there was a sequel that divided the fanbase more than actual division, there was one game. Does that game score a hole in one, or is the experience a lot more rough? Let's find out as we give it everything we've got. The game begins with a girl, a sleepy girl. She wakes up when her father comes home talking to someone on the phone named Tommy. This is Joel Miller, voiced by the ever-present Troy Baker, whose resume is way too long for me to list. And today is his birthday. His daughter stayed up to give him his present, a new watch to replace the broken one. And we get the first instance of this game's amazing dialogue.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
Sarah is carried off to bed where she is later awoken by an urgent phone call from Tommy, Joel's brother. She explores the house looking for her dad and sees news about infections, pandemics, and explosions, oh my! A whole 7 years before they'd become a reality! She finds her dad as he enters the house and says something isn't right with their neighbors, the Coopers, and the patriarch of the Coopers busts in to prove him right, getting shot dead by Joel. Come on, you gotta be more sly than that. Tommy shows up and the three drive off, Tommy informing Joel and the audience that at least half their city is like that, and during their escape, we get the first indicator that Joel isn't the most perfect protagonist.
What do you think you're doing? Keep driving.
I got a kid, Joel.
So do we.
But we have room.
Keep driving, Tommy.
They get turned around and press on until another car crashes into theirs, forcing them to run through the city. Tommy stays behind to hold off the infected while Joel and Sarah carry on, being saved from a horde by a soldier guarding the perimeter, who is instructed to kill them. Even though he doesn't want to, he fires away, Joel pulling off some sick ninja dodge skills to evade the bullets. The soldier is dispatched by Tommy, and they find that a bullet managed to hit Sarah right in the stomach. Joel tries to save her and...
Sarah? Baby? Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. No. No. No, no. Please. Please don't. Please.
Ninja Brian, are you crying? Good. Me neither.
That was just the prologue of the game, and already this game has one of the most emotional moments of any game I have ever played. If this didn't tell you that you were in for something special, then I don't think anything will. The intro title sequence gives us a narration montage of the decline of civilization, with most all governments being destroyed, vaccinations failing, cities being placed under martial law, and the rise of a domestic terrorist organization known as the Fireflies. We flash forward 20 years and reconnect with Joel, now living in the Boston quarantine zone with this woman, Tess. Together, they get by smuggling illegal goods in exchange for ration cards. Tess tells Joel that a rival of theirs, Robert, tried to have his men kill her, and that now is a prime opportunity for revenge. Their trek through the QZ is interrupted by an explosion on behalf of the Fireflies, meaning they have to take the secret hidden tunnel system. Down in those tunnels, we get one exchange that essentially summarizes all of the core gameplay mechanics.
Not a lot of ammo.
Make the shots count.
The tunnels bring them outside the QZ walls, and we see that maintenance isn't exactly a priority in the zombie apocalypse. They carry on into an old building where a gathering of deadly spores forces them to equip their gas masks. See, this infection is a mutated version of the cordyceps fungus, which infects insects and slowly transforms their brain and insides into fungus before sprouting out and releasing more spores to infect more insects.
Damn, nature, you scary!
The presence of spores most always means the presence of infected, and we get introduced to the first stage of infected, the runners. They're very fast once they see you, so it's recommended that you sneak up on them and take them out quietly, usually with the help of Listen mode, which allows Joel to sense enemy locations. Or you can just shoot him in the face. That works too. They cross back into the city and get into a fight with some of Robert's men, where we get introduced to the other half of this game's combat. It's very similar to Uncharted with a heavier emphasis on bullet use, as you will never have very much. They eventually catch up to Robert, who tells them he sold their weapons to the Fireflies, and it's very soon afterwards that they find Marlene, a leader within the Fireflies. She wants them to smuggle some goods in exchange for their weapons. She leads them to a back room and reveals that they won't be smuggling goods, but a person. A 14-year-old girl to be precise, voiced by Ashley Johnson. Tess goes off with Marlene to get the weapons while Joel heads off with the girl, who we learn is named Ellie, toward the Capitol building where Fireflies are waiting to take her. As they begin their journey, Joel makes it clear that he doesn't care about Ellie or why he's smuggling her. They rest until Tess shows up and sneak their way out of the city. Pretty soon after, they're stopped by the military, and we get our answer as to why Ellie is so important.
Why the hell are we smuggling an infected girl?
I'm not infected.
No? Was this lying?
I can explain.
You better explain fast.
Infection sets in within 2 days after being bit, but Ellie was bit 3 weeks ago, and all she has to show for it is an ugly scar. Joel doesn't want to continue, but he doesn't have a choice since more soldiers show up after hearing the gunshots. As they sneak around, I would like to mention what will be occupying a large part of the time you put into this game: scrounging. As this game goes on, Joel will be able to craft more and more things, but he needs materials to do it, and those materials will be found scattered throughout the game, meaning you will constantly be searching for them, especially since you can't carry very many at one time. Ellie says her blood may be the key to making a vaccine, but I would prioritize killing the infected that already exist because they eventually turn into this nightmare shit. This is a clicker, the third stage of infected. The fungus has blinded them, so they use echolocation to detect people, with some of the creepiest fucking sounds known to man. As you may have been able to guess, you have to be extra quiet around these guys. You can also throw bottles or bricks to lure them places. Joel finds a new gun and a Molotov, which are now craftable, and they continue toward the Capitol building until coming across a workbench. Along with the crafting materials you'll scavenge, you will also find 2 other types of materials: pills and scrap. Pills are used to upgrade things like health, crafting skills, and other things, while scrap is used to upgrade guns at workbenches scattered throughout the game. They emerge back outside as the sun rises, and Joel and Ellie have their first scene together with no hostility between them. They finally arrive at the Capitol building to see that all of the Fireflies are dead. Tess is determined to continue while Joel wants to give up, and Ellie finds out why Tess is so desperate to get this vaccine made.
Holy shit. She's infected.
Tess explains that her hour-old wound is worse than Ellie's 3-week-old wound, thus confirming Ellie's immunity. She forces Joel and Ellie to run while she stays behind and sacrifices herself to the army that just rolled up. Joel now forced to carry on Tess's crusade and find Tommy, who used to be a Firefly. During their escape, Joel finds a hunting rifle and the two of them run into a spore-filled subway. A sporeway, if you will. And Ellie's immunity is even more confirmed by her being able to breathe spores with no problem. After clearing the sporeway, Joel lays down some ground rules.
Things gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever. Matter of fact, we just keep our histories to ourselves. Secondly, don't tell anybody about your condition. They think you're crazy, they'll try to kill you. And lastly, you do what I say when I say it.
Joel says he has a friend that can get them a car, and they go to find him.
Are you alright?
I'm trying to learn how to whistle.
The game is filled with little moments like these that make these characters so endearing, and while I won't be pointing all of them out, I will be showing some of my favorites as they come. Joel finds a bow which can be used for stealthy ranged kills, and Ellie says she's a good shot with one, though Joel isn't too keen on letting her prove it. Joel explains that his friend is very paranoid and rigged the whole city with traps, immediately proven when Joel gets strung up and has to take down some infected while Ellie tries to get him down until he's saved by his friend Bill. Bill says they need to gather parts to fix a car and brings him to another bunker he has set up.
You don't touch anything.
Hey! What'd I say to you when we walked down the steps?
What'd I say?
I'm just fixing your stupid pile.
Don't touch. God damn it.
Bill gives Joel a shotgun and a nail bomb and says they'll find what they're looking for inside the nearby high school, but all they find is a bloater, the 4th stage of infected, and the last one in this game. Bloaters are heavily armored and can throw spore bombs, but they're very slow and susceptible to fire. They're also very rare and essentially act as boss fights. They defeat the bloater and escape into a house, where they find that Bill's partner Frank took the car battery they were looking for, though I don't think he'll be needing it anytime soon. They get the car going and speed away from the infected, Bill departing and giving Joel a siphon to get more gas in the truck as they go. We smash cut sometime in the future as the drive goes on. Ellie tells Joel about the Savage Starlight comic she stole from Bill, along with a cassette tape and a suspiciously sticky magazine.
How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Well, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about.
Ellie chucks the magazine out the window just in time to show us that they're nearing Pittsburgh. We also get another great bit of editing.
Why don't you try to get some sleep? All right.
I'm not even tired.
They arrive in Pittsburgh to see their path blocked, so they go around where they're attacked by bandits after Joel calls their bluff.
Holy shit. Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
Their car gets smashed and crashed, and the bandits jump on them, though Joel manages to get the upper hand. They carry on and find the bandits' makeshift body storage, where Joel finds a smoke bomb and Ellie asks a valid question.
How did you know
Know what?
about the ambush?
I've been on both sides.
Oh,
Joel spots a bridge in the distance, and they head off toward it.
I'm whistling.
Oh, good. Something else you can drive me crazy with.
Also, Ellie mentioning Savage Starlight earlier actually had a purpose, as now Joel can collect more comics in the series to give to Ellie.
You sacrificed the few to save the many.
It's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Since things are getting a little too serious around here, Ellie decides it's time to get silly and Philly, so she pulls out her joke book filled with all my material.
It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
My personal favorite being the last one.
What is the leading cause of divorce in long-term marriages? A stalemate.
That's awful.
You're awful.
Do you even understand what that means?
Nope.
Things get serious right after as they encounter even more bandits that Joel has to take out. His reward for doing so? More jokes!
I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now.
Alright, I've actually never heard that one.
Alright, fuck it, let's just jump into round 3 right away.
What did the mermaid wear to her math class?
What?
An algebra.
Terrible.
You're on a roll, Ellie. Stick the landing with part 4.
People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow. Too soon.
Or don't. While cutting through this hotel, Joel gets separated from Ellie when the elevator decides to take the expressway down. He dispatches some infected and some more bandits on his way to getting kicked in the fucking face and almost drowned before being saved by Ellie, who is more than a bit shaken after shooting someone.
You know what? No. How about, hey, Ellie, I know it wasn't easy, but it was either him or me. Thanks for saving my ass. You got anything like that for me, Joel?
They make their way outside where more bandits are waiting, and Joel finally decides to allow Ellie to help him.
Lift it up. All right, now, you're going to lean right into that stock, as it is going to kick a hell of a lot more than any baby rifle.
Okay.
Go and pull the bolt back. Grab it right there. Just tug it. There you go. And as soon as you fire, you're going to want to get another round in there quick. Listen to me. If I get into trouble down there, you make every shot count.
Of course, it's entirely possible that Joel uses his Ninja Batman skills to take out everyone undetected, but regardless of the outcome, Joel gives Ellie a pistol to hold on to in case of emergencies. Their escape gets a lot more hectic with the involvement of an armored truck, but they run into 2 more survivors, Henry and his little brother Sam. They're from Hartford, Connecticut, and left when things started getting bad, also known as when they realized they were living in Hartford, Connecticut. Down in the toy store, they see some shameless self-promotion and take shelter in an apartment that Henry has been using to monitor the bridge. He says their best bet is sundown and that he's meeting up with the other members of his crew at a radio station just outside the city. Joel agrees to join them since they are also looking for the Fireflies. Night falls and their escape goes off without a hitch, except when they get spotted, and then separated, and then chased by the armored truck, cornered on a bridge, and forced to jump into the racing water below. But other than that, it goes pretty well. After being knocked out in the water, Joel wakes up on shore with Ellie, Henry, and Sam. He confronts Henry, upset they abandoned them during the escape, but when Henry says Joel would have done the same thing, and that he came back and pulled them out of the water, he relents. They make their way into the sewers, because no horror game is complete without them, and find someone's old living quarters, where Joel gets a new gun called Shorty, and I will not be making any of the obvious bad jokes. Ellie already covered that front, but she won't have time to tell Joel any more bad jokes anytime soon, as they get separated when Joel accidentally activates a safety gate, leaving Henry and Ellie on the other side. Though it's only a short matter of time before they reunite with them and meet all of their fun new infected friends. They fight through the infected and make it outside once more.
Look at this.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Thanks for the warning on the other side, guys.
Well, in their defense, I don't think they expected anyone to enter through the sewage pipes. They cross through the very inviting suburbs, and Joel invites Henry and Sam to join them on their journey to Wyoming, the last known location of Tommy. They agree, and Ellie celebrates the occasion by whipping out her book once more.
You want to hear a joke about pizza? Never mind, it was too cheesy.
I don't get it.
Yeah, me neither.
Their fun time is interrupted by a sniper and his friends, Joel having to sneak around to take them all out, then use the sniper rifle to defend his friends from the infected summoned by the loud sniper shots. After that, we cut to that night, where Henry and Joel bond over their love of motorcycles, and Ellie talks to Sam about what she's afraid of.
Being by myself? I'm scared of ending up alone.
Haha, yeah, that would really suck, wouldn't it? Sam says he's worried that the infected people are still inside, just with no control over their body. But he doesn't have to worry about that, at least he's been bit and The next morning, Sam has begun to turn, forcing Henry to shoot him dead, which is too much for him to handle. And this is where my only real complaint with the story comes in. The game immediately smash cuts to black, and we fast forward to the fall, as Joel and Ellie are nearing Jackson, Wyoming, meaning we don't get to see Joel and Ellie process what happened to Henry and Sam. The game is already long as is, but I would have liked to have at least seen that cutscene extended a bit more to show how they react. Joel finds another gun as I wonder where the devil he's storing all of these things, and tells Ellie that his relationship with his brother is strained, and that's putting it lightly.
I believe his last words to me were, I don't ever want to see your goddamn face again.
They find a hydroelectric power plant, have an awesome high five, and Ellie brings up Sam and Henry, though Joel tells her they aren't supposed to talk about it, which is not enough for me. They're about to cross through the plant, but they find that it's currently occupied.
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
Tommy introduces Joel to Maria, his wife, who runs things around here. Tommy tells Joel that they're trying to get this plant working again to restore power to the town nearby. When one of the workers calls for help, Joel goes off with Tommy to assist them, which Ellie isn't exactly happy about. Tommy tries to give Joel a photo of him and Sarah that he recovered from Joel's old house, though Joel refuses to accept it. Tommy tells Joel about all the self-sustaining benefits of his new town, and Joel tries to pass Ellie on to him or Maria, but Tommy refuses, saying the most he'll do is give Joel supplies. Their argument is interrupted by a group of bandits raiding the plant, activating Joel's kick-ass mode as he fucks up all those punk bitches and reunites with Ellie.
Joel! Oh man, they were coming in from every direction, then Maria was like, we gotta run, and so we dove over these tables, and this huge guy blasted with a shotgun.
Slow down. Listen, hey, are you hurt?
No.
Tommy tells Maria that he has to take Ellie to the Fireflies despite her protests, though he doesn't have a chance to as Ellie takes a horse and rides off on her own. The brothers Miller take horses of their own to find her, stumbling into a bandit camp along the way. They find the horse at a ranch and Tommy stays downstairs so Joel can talk to Ellie alone. Ellie wants Joel to admit that he's wanted to get rid of her the whole time and asks him what he's scared of. Joel says she'll be safer with Tommy, and Ellie responds with this.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Joel tells Ellie she has no idea what loss is, and she responds with something truly heartbreaking.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
Joel is still seemingly set in his ways and restates that Ellie isn't his daughter, though I think that was more for himself. A group of bandits interrupt the moment, though Joel and Tommy easily dismiss them. They ride to a hill overlooking Jackson, where we witness possibly the biggest turning point in these characters' journey.
Ellie, get off your horse. Give it on back to Tommy. I'm gonna hang on to this fella, if that's all right with you. Go on, don't make me repeat myself.
What are you doing?
Your wife kind of scares me. I don't want her coming after me.
Sorry for stealing your horse.
Come back to town. Let's discuss it at least.
You know me, my mind's all made up.
We cut to Joel and Ellie arriving at the university and having a conversation that mirrors anyone's attempts to explain football to me.
Give the ball to the other team,
Right, it's called turnover.
and if you clear the 10 yards, then you're back at first down?
First down, that's right.
Man, it's confusing.
As they enter the campus, Joel finds a flamethrower, because that's what colleges just have hanging around. They explore around in the hopes of finding some fireflies.
They're looking for the fireflies. They've all left.
Yeah, okay. The recording says the rest of the fireflies have moved to a hospital in Salt Lake City, and their escape is interrupted by some random enemies. But I'm sure they'll be fine. Well, he's screwed. Ellie has to carry Joel out of the university and occasionally take out enemies for him. They make it outside, but Joel passes out, and we smash cut to the winter time and see a cute little bunny rabbit. Okay, well, hey, Ellie got to prove that she really is a good shot with that bow. As Ellie chases after a deer, we get a chance to see the contents of her bag. She's got the pun books, a letter from her dead mother, the photo of Joel and Sarah for some reason, and a firefly pendant from someone named Riley. We actually get to see Riley in the DLC for this game, Left Behind. Half of it takes place in this winter section of the game, while the other half takes place 3 weeks before Ellie met Joel, as she and Riley explore an abandoned mall. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, why does 3 weeks sound familiar? It's because Left Behind tells the story of how Ellie got bit. Riley got bit too, and they made a promise to fight as much as they could before the infection took over. Needless to say, it happened a lot faster to Riley. Ellie takes down the deer and runs into 2 men, David and James. David is actually voiced by Nolan North, though you would never know it because voice actors are super villains. Ellie has James go off to retrieve antibiotics in exchange for some of the deer meat, and takes David's rifle so he can carry the carcass inside. David's poor attempts to bond with Ellie are interrupted by a clicker, and David saves Ellie's life, so he's clearly trustworthy. I mean, would Nathan Drake himself betray us after all we've been through together? The answer is no. After they fight through a horde, including a bloater, David reveals that Joel killed a bunch of scouts he sent out, and James wants to shoot Ellie since they know she was accompanying him, though David doesn't blame her and lets her go. See, I told you he wouldn't betray us. Even when Ellie wakes up the next day and sees that David's men tracked her back, it's evident that David doesn't want her dead, though they don't listen. Ellie's horse gets shot dead, and she sneakily murders more of David's men, though he still saves her life, albeit a bit too forcefully for my liking. Okay, so maybe she wakes up in a cell, and maybe David and his men are cannibals, but I'm sure cannibals can be good people.
You have heart. You're loyal. And you're special.
Okay, nope, never mind. The answer is yes. Nathan Drake would absolutely betray us after everything we've been through. It's time for Sam Drake to wake up and save his daughter figure from his brother. In order to do that, he tortures 2 of David's men, forcing one to mark Ellie's location on a map, then going to the other one and seeing if he marks the same location. Although, instead, he kills the first guy and probably makes the second guy shit his pants right before he dies.
I ain't telling you shit.
That's all right. I believe him.
No, wait!
We switch back to Ellie and see that she don't need no saving, as she uses her bite as a quick distraction so she can slice her way to freedom. Ellie fights through a snowstorm until she's trapped in a restaurant with David and has to continuously sneak behind him and knife him, though we cut back to Joel before the end of the fight to see him approach the burning restaurant. Back with Ellie, David asks, "You think you know me?" and on this day, he won't be seen clearly anymore as Ellie bashes his face in, only being stopped when Joel arrives.
Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me. It's me. Look. It's me.
He tried to...
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
No.
This event has a lasting effect on Ellie, as proven by the cut to spring, where Ellie still isn't acting right.
Ellie! Did you hear me?
She continues to act strange and distant until she spots something that steals her attention. I wonder what it is.
What are you doing?
It's all right. Come here. Hurry up. Come on.
Hey there.
This is one of the most beautiful scenes in the game, as it perfectly represents one of the game's core messages: life goes on. I'll go into more detail later, but this scene is amazing. This reignites Ellie's fire and desire to find the fireflies, now having hope they'll be at the hospital. But there's the small matter of getting there first, and all the infected that have nothing better to do than get in their way. But everyone knows nothing is as dangerous in a Naughty Dog game as a bridge or bridge acting object. See the parallels they're going for? After Joel gets knocked the fuck out, he wakes up in a hospital room with Marlene, who tells him that Ellie is fine and that the doctors will be able to reverse engineer the mutated cordyceps in Ellie's brain to create a vaccine. Hooray!
But it grows all over the brain.
Oh nay! Well, Joel takes this about as well as you'd expect. Joel goes on the warpath, mowing down the Fireflies on a quest to save Ellie.
Come on, baby girl. I got you. I got you.
He's confronted by Marlene in the parking garage, who tells Joel that Ellie would want to sacrifice herself to save the world, and we cut to Joel driving away from the hospital with Ellie in the back seat, so we'll never know what happened back there. Nah, just kidding. Joel fucking shoots her twice and leaves. He also lies to Ellie, telling her the Fireflies stopped looking for a cure. I'm sure that won't come back to bite him in the ass and doom this whole series or anything.
You're right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Can you lay off the untuned guitar for 1 second, man? This is an important moment. Anyway, with that lie cemented, Joel and Ellie make their way to Jackson, their new home. There is nothing I can say about this game that hasn't been said before in a million ways and in a million songs. This game has one of the best stories and some of the strongest characters I have ever seen in a video game. Joel and Ellie are two of the greatest video game characters ever created, and the way they bounce off one another and how their relationship grows over the course of the story is done to absolute perfection with a frightening level of subtlety that is nigh on impossible. Like I said a few minutes ago, a main theme in this game is that life goes on, which both Joel and Ellie learn as a result of spending time with one another. Joel learns to open himself up to care about others again after the death of his daughter, and Ellie learns that for every bad thing in the world, there's good to counter it. Another theme done beautifully is how far a father is willing to go to save his daughter. We see Joel go from purposely pushing Ellie away to prevent himself from caring about her to willingly murdering a large group of mostly innocent people to save her life, and every step between them feels genuine and earned. Ellie grows on him as she grows on us, and a lot of those little moments that I pointed out go a long way in making it feel even more natural. However, not everything is perfect. While the abrupt neglect of Henry and Sam is my only gripe with the story, which is admittedly a minor one, my main problem with this game is with the gameplay. Having to scour every inch of every area to look for more than just 100% collectibles is a fun mechanic and a great way to force players to appreciate the detailed environments, but it can get a bit boring and repetitive at times. Luckily, the game is just the right length for it to not get too boring, and the story is so strong that it carries you through the lacking moments to see what happens next. And to top it all off, the game looks great. While not the greatest graphics of the time, they really nailed all of the character designs, and the rough and jaded look of Joel contrasts perfectly with the innocent and more round look of Ellie. The character designs don't stand out on their own, as they're all designed to look like regular people, but every important character looks unique and it matches their personality perfectly. While the infected usually take a backseat to the more important story at hand, they are still a prominent feature, even just as a concept. The whole catalyst for the plot is the hope of a cure, and their repeated presence reminds us why a cure is so desperately needed, as they are apex predators and spreading like a virus. Too soon? I do think it's a bit of a missed opportunity to only have 4 different types of infected, especially since one of them, the Stalker, is barely ever seen in the fucking game. I think they appear like twice. I get that Left 4 Dead is kinda known for the whole zombie variants thing, but it got kinda predictable just facing off against runners and clickers and the occasional bloater. The Last of Us Remastered gets a 9.5 out of 10. On story alone, this game is an easy 10 out of 10, but the gameplay just doesn't measure up as much. I will always place a lot more value on story than gameplay, and the gameplay isn't bad, just a bit undercooked. But I can't completely ignore my feelings about the gameplay when deciding on a score. And that's it. The Last of Us came out in 2013 and there was never a sequel. Nope. It doesn't exist. You may think it does, but you're stupid and wrong and need to leave. And even if there was one, I definitely won't be looking at it next week. You can't make me!